Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, featuring industry thought leaders sharing problem-solving insights to help grow your business and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stewart Andrew Alexander.
Hi, and welcome to another Let's Talk Bankruptcy conversation. And on this segment of the show, ladies and gentlemen, I am so happy to have our guest today. We've been trying to get him onto the show for quite some time, but being the busy guy he is, it has proven to be somewhat of a challenge. However, every challenge that is thrown our way, we do overcome them. So with that said, today we have bankruptcy attorney Christopher Kane, owner of Christopher J. Kane PC, and he's calling in all the way from Portland, Oregon. Now, Christopher, who is, commonly known to his friends and colleagues simply as Chris, has a wealth of experience in the area of bankruptcy and is here today to talk to you about the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcies. So if you are in and around the Portland, Oregon area and you feel that you can relate to today's topic, you might just want to down tools, give yourself a break, log out of Facebook, Twitter, or anything else you happen to be doing which may cause a distraction, and listen in to what Chris has to share with us today. So, with that said, he is a busy man. Let's not keep him waiting any longer. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you, Stuart.
You are so welcome. So let's just jump feet first in then, Chris. Let's make the best use of our time. Briefly, in your own words, describe the kinds of people who you serve and the various types of situations they find themselves in when they come to you for your help.
Well, I represent people all over the state of Oregon. Most of my clients are from the Portland metro area, but I do have clients all over the state, and I can help anybody in the state of Oregon. My clients comprise every walk of life you could possibly imagine. But the one thing they all have in common is they're buried in debt. They're overwhelmed, not sure what they can do about it. Sometimes they're facing a foreclosure on their home. Their wages are being garnished. They've just been served in a lawsuit. Car just got repossessed. There's creditors calling them on the phone all day long, begging them for money. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, as a result of reduction in their income, they lost their job. Just got through a divorce and find themselves deep in debt. Medical problems are still a big, huge issue, even with the Affordable Care Act. There are millions of people out there without any health insurance, and you can go from zero debt to $500,000 in debt in just a couple of days if you have a real serious medical condition. And oftentimes that can stick with you for many, many years. That debt can stick with you for a long time. And so they come to me, and we sit down and talk about the situation, and more often than not, I can find a solution for them to move forward.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us, Chris. So before we move on to our next question, let's just take a moment to make it absolutely clear that anything you share with us today is not legal advice or legal assistance. It's purely for the purpose of sharing information. Can we both agree on that then, Chris?
Yes, I agree, Stuart.
Okay, so with that said, what's the most common misconception? And I'm sure there are scores of misconceptions that you could share with us today, but what's the most common misconception you come across while you're out there helping your clients on a day-to-day basis?
It is true, Stuart. There are a ton of myths out there and misconceptions people have. In fact, I'm writing a book about that right now. Let you know when I finish it up. But as far as regarding Chapter 7 versus Chapter 13 bankruptcy, the most common misconception I see is a lot of people have this understanding that if they go through a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, they're going to end up having to pay off 100% of their debt over a 3 to 5 year payment plan. The most basic difference between a Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy is Chapter 7 takes about 90 days to complete, where Chapter 13 takes a minimum of 3 years to maximum of 5 years. Chapter 13 is more of a debt restructuring program where you're making payments to a bankruptcy trustee every month for a 3 to 5 year period of time, and then those payments are distributed amongst the creditors depending on the plan that gets confirmed by the court. And a lot of people think, oh no, I'm $50,000 in debt, credit card debts, how can I pay that off in 5 years? I'm only making a couple of grand a month and can barely put food on the table. But the truth is, the reality is, the vast majority of people who do end up filing Chapter 13 bankruptcy do not even end up paying even up to maybe 25% of their debt. It just kind of depends on why they're going to Chapter 13 in the first place, what kinds of debts they have, what kinds of property they're trying to hold on to, whether it be a home, continue to pay the mortgage, continue to pay the car loan, keep the car, whatever it is. There are many different reasons people can file Chapter 13 and choose to file Chapter 13 over Chapter 7. Oftentimes, Chapter 13 can be a much better solution for people in the long run. And I'll give you an example of a client of mine who came in and they were extremely overwhelmed, had a lot of misinformation about Chapter 13. What the situation was, they had about $50,000 of credit card debt, but the main reason they came to see me is they lost their driver's license because they had about $7,000 of traffic tickets they hadn't paid. And here in the state of Oregon, in many states, if you don't pay your traffic tickets, they'll eventually yank your license. And this person needed to drive for work. They actually lost their job because of that. They were able to get reemployed somewhere else, but their main line of work was driving. And turns out when you file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you can actually discharge those traffic tickets, where in a Chapter 7 case, you cannot. And so in Chapter 13, get your license back, get rid of those traffic tickets. I got them into a $100 a month plan for 36 months. They pay the trustee $100 a month for 36 months for a total of $3,600 and got rid of $57,000 worth of debt, got the driver's license back, got back to work in the industry they wanted to get back into and really get a fresh start and move forward. And it didn't cost them a ton of money.
As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is bankruptcy attorney Christopher Kane, owner of Christopher J. Kane PC in Portland, Oregon. And today's topic is the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcies. Now, with that in mind, Chris, and for those people who are out there listening right now and they are wanting to know more, please share one common but unknown pitfall that they need to avoid regardless of what situation they find themselves in.
Well, oftentimes when people find themselves in debt, one of the first things they try to do is sell assets they have. Right. Or try to hide those assets somehow so eventually if the creditors get judgments against them, the creditors cannot come after those assets or find them. And I would strongly suggest that those thoughts are crossing your mind at all, to go talk to a competent bankruptcy attorney first before you do anything like that. Because transfers of assets prior to filing bankruptcy can end up being a bad deal for you. It can end up causing a lot of problems if you eventually do have to file bankruptcy. And especially if you're not selling property for the full market value, if you're giving someone a deal or just giving your brother the car, transferring and title of the car or anything else into somebody else's name, that can really backfire on you pretty badly. And so I would say if you're finding yourself deep in debt and you're looking to do something like that, go talk to somebody first, like myself, to make sure you're not doing something that's going to bite you later on. It's a very common thing that I see.
Right, so let's just expand a little bit on this then, Chris. You mentioned hiding assets. So in relation to that, just what would be the repercussions? What would be the consequences of somebody not using full disclosure with their attorney? What could be some of the worst things that could happen in cases like that?
Well, the first thing people need to remind is that they do not tell their lawyer everything. If you don't give your lawyer full disclosure, your lawyer can't help you, can't effectively help you 100%. When you go to speak to an attorney, the attorney-client privilege and everything you tell your attorney is fully confidential, and then you decide what you're going to disclose to who later on. But when you file a bankruptcy case, when you sign those documents before they get filed with the court, you're signing under penalty of perjury under federal law. And if for some reason the bankruptcy trustee and or the bankruptcy court finds out that you're lying about anything, that can result, you can go to jail for that. It can cost you a lot of money as well. You lose your discharge and not walk away from any of your debts, and there could potentially be an order entered that prevents you from ever filing bankruptcy again. I've seen those things happen before, and it's not pretty. And the reason disclosures of assets is so important is that when you file bankruptcy, the bankruptcy trustee assigned your case. In a Chapter 7 case, their main job is to see if you have any assets that they can sell to get money for your creditors before you finish up the process. We have exemptions that state and federal law give you that protect each kind of asset up to a certain dollar value. It protects the equity in those assets up to certain levels. If you have equity above and beyond the exemption amounts, then sometimes Chapter 13 is a way to hold on to those assets, or in Chapter 7, sometimes there are some things that we can do to help you hold on to those assets. Now, if you get rid of an asset, you transfer an asset before you file bankruptcy, the trustee can go back even as far as 4 years. If you transfer anything within 4 years prior to filing the bankruptcy, in some circumstances, they can go reverse that transaction, get the property back from whoever you gave it to, sell the property, give money to your creditors, and then the person you gave that either gave the property to or sold the property to, they're losing that asset as well, and it can obviously cause you a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. Disclosure is extremely important for a number of different reasons, both to protect yourself, save yourself headaches, as well as prevent yourself from getting into big trouble and obviously making your bankruptcy worthless if you lose your discharge.
So I'm a listener, and I just heard what you just shared then, Chris, but I'm a really stubborn guy, right? I'm facing bankruptcy, Chapter 7, Chapter 13, whatever the case may be, but I am really stubborn, and I think I'm really clever. And even though you've shared some great insights about full disclosure, I'm still going to go ahead and hide my assets and not disclose everything with my attorney. In that case, in your experience then, Chris, how likely am I to be found out?
Well, you'd be surprised. These bankruptcy trustees, they have many different ways they can find out what's going on. They're definitely going to check all the public record. If you sold a house or sold a car and the title is effectively legally transferred, that is a matter of public record. Anybody can find that out. Mm-hmm. And also, if there's anybody out there who knows about this situation, they know you filed bankruptcy, they could show it to the meeting. You have a meeting with the trustee a month after you file the case. That person could show up there and they could speak up during the meeting and say, "Hey, Mr. Trustee, I know this person just gave their car to their brother last week. It's worth about $10,000. You might want to go get that." Mm-hmm. I've seen that happen before. Not with any of my clients, but while I'm sitting there waiting for my turn, I've seen that people get busted right there in front of everybody in the room. It happens. And like I said, if that's found out, you could be subjected to some pretty severe penalties as well. People think they can shield themselves from those things happening, but the trustees, they have their ways of finding out. And sometimes people, if there's anybody in your life who wants to see you go down, they can find ways to help that happen.
Okay, folks, you heard it here. You have, I'll just call it what it is. You have been warned. Full disclosure. Tell your attorney everything. Don't hide your assets, because you are more than likely to be found out. So Chris has been sharing some great insights so far. And I'd just like to ask Chris, because you got me really curious, without going into your background or your formal education, how many years have you been a practicing attorney?
I've been practicing since 1995, so 22 years now. Bankruptcy has been my primary area of practice for about 21 of those years.
Okay, so over 2 decades. So I think it would be fair to say that you've helped hundreds of people in that period of time, right?
Yes, in fact, I would put that number in the thousands now.
So with that in mind then, Chris, when you think about those thousands of people who you've helped to create a positive transformation in their lives, what's most important to you on a personal level about being in that position to be able to help your clients to achieve their desired outcomes?
Well, it feels good. It gives me extreme personal and professional satisfaction to be able to see people, they come into me, they're at their wits' end, they're overwhelmed, don't know what to do. I can help them through the process, and they come out of it on top. They come out of it feeling like they have a bright future ahead of them. They're moving forward, putting the past behind them, moving forward. And I disclosed to all my clients, I filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy myself back in 1998 when I was having a tough time. The first time I tried to be self-employed and didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I was able to file a Chapter 7 and get rid of some debt and move forward, and it was one of the best things I've ever done for myself. And my clients really appreciate me telling them that, because they understand that I've been there too. And I've always been, I call myself the save the little guy lawyer. Everything that I've ever done in my career my legal career has always been centered around helping working people. I grew up in a working class family. My parents didn't make a ton of money, and we didn't live on a lot. I've been working myself since I was about 14 years old, I believe. And it's not getting any easier here in this country for those of us who don't have billions of dollars at our disposal. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people need a second chance. And I'm glad that I can be a part of that.
And there's no shame in being in that position of facing bankruptcy, right? Let's just make that clear.
Yeah, millions of people in this country have had to file bankruptcy in the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah, in fact, when I think about some of the most successful entrepreneurs, quite a few of them have been through that process of filing bankruptcy. Is that not right?
Yes, it is true. In fact, I would say probably nearly half of those people probably went through bankruptcy, yeah. And sometimes you need to hit the bottom before you can get back to the top. And you also have to take chances in entrepreneurship. You have to take chances sometimes, and sometimes they don't work out the way you thought they were going to. You always have another chance to try it again.
Could you just spend a few moments just sharing a little bit about your background and especially your formal education and your experience as it relates to the topic of bankruptcy? Okay,
yeah. Well, I went to Portland State University here in Portland for my undergraduate degree. I actually went to college thinking I was going to pursue a career in electrical engineering, because in high school I was always really into math and science and electronics and things like that. But I got into college, and once I got into calculus courses, I realized I don't get this. I don't enjoy trying to get this. And I found myself taking a lot of sociology, economics, social science classes and really enjoying them a lot. And there was a particular sociology professor of mine in college who took me aside one day. We were talking about a paper that I wrote that he gave me an A on. And he asked me, "Hey, Chris, what are you going to do when you get out of school?" So, well, I was going into engineering school, and now I've decided not to go that direction. I really don't know where I'm headed right now. He said, "I think you should be a lawyer. And I want to help you however I can to get into law school, because you write like an attorney. You're very concerned about socioeconomic issues and about the plight of the common person." And he was the one who really inspired me to look into law school, and I got accepted here at Lewis & Clark Law School here in Portland, and I went there in 92, graduated in 94, passed the bar exam in 95. Mm-hmm. And then when I came out of law school, the American Bar Association was telling us new lawyers, this is the toughest job market we've seen in many, many, many years. Good luck out there. So I was out there doing a lot of volunteer work for attorneys and kind of learning the ropes. Mm-hmm. And doing some contract work and this and that. I eventually opened up my own office downtown, specializing in Social Security and disability law when I first got started, which is a real tough way to go because you need a lot of cases in the pipeline to really pay the bills. I found myself digging into debt. Like I said, in 1998, I filed my own bankruptcy because I decided I needed a second chance. Got a job at a bankruptcy law firm where we practiced exclusively in bankruptcy. That's all I did there for about 4.5 years, and I left there in 2005. Opened my own office here in Northeast Portland. I've been here for 12 years and practicing almost exclusively in bankruptcy. There are a few other things that I do as well, but it's the majority of what I've been doing for a long, long time now. And like I said, I grew up in a working class family. We'd never had a lot of money, so I knew what it was like to struggle and have to do what you have to do to make it by. And so I've been through some pitfalls in my own life, as we all have. Mm-hmm. And so I really like to make a personal relationship with my clients, understand what they've been going through. I spend a lot of time with my clients. It's really one thing that sets me apart from a lot of the people who do what I do. I'm willing to sit here and hear your story. I want to know you before I can really help you decide what's in your best interest.
Right. So let's get a picture then of those people who you help on a day-to-day basis. The little guy, as you said in your own words earlier, with that picture in your mind, the little guy, he comes to your office, he gives you a call, he needs help, he wants to know more about Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 and all of the other areas that you could possibly help him with. What final thoughts would you like to leave them with before we finish up with our last question for today?
Well, I always tell my clients, potential clients, when they come in to see me, if you leave my office feeling better about your situation with a smile on your face, then we've been successful. And I believe the vast majority of the time, people I meet with, they leave my office with that smile on their face. Because there was always something we can do. there's always an option. There is a way out. And definitely, if you go to see a professional like myself early on in the case, in your situation, before you really hit panic mode, there's the best time to come see somebody like myself. So you can come in with a clear mind, an open mind, be able to discuss discreetly your situation before you do anything that's going to cause you problems like transferring an asset or anything else. If you're thinking about doing something that feels like it might, just something might be not so right about it, come and see me first. Come and see a professional first to make sure you're not doing something that will cause you problems in the future. And also, with proper planning, if people come to see me early on enough in their situation, sometimes doing some proper planning before you file bankruptcy can save you a lot of money and a lot of headache. So the earlier you feel yourself heading into the spiraling hole of debt, go see an attorney and talk to a professional like myself who understands what you're going through, because there is a way out. And don't wait until the last second, until the last minute when you're in full panic mode.
So I'm listening in right now, and Chris, I feel that even though you shared some great insights today, I want to know even more. I want to know more about the differences between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcies. I want to know more about how you can help me in my own specific situation. If that's the case, what's the best way for me to reach out and find you then?
Well, the best thing to do first would be go to look at my website at www.ckanelaw.com, CKANELAW.com. I have a lot of information on there about different types of bankruptcy and what I can do, and also, of course, my phone number's on there. And you can send me a message directly from my website asking me to give you a call and set up a consultation. You can give me a call. More often than not, I'm the one who's going to answer the phone if you call my office, and we'll set an appointment right there and see you as soon as you want to. Or you can send me a message to the website, or send me an email. I'm very easy to get a hold of, and if I can't help you with what you need help with, I can always find somebody who can. Sometimes bankruptcy is not the best option for people, and sometimes they need some other advice, and I can always send you to professionals who has the right advice for you.
That's a great point. Chris, could you just share that phone number? Because not everybody has direct access to the internet that may be listening. Right. So please go ahead and share your phone number.
Okay, my number is 503-380-7822.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, I have a feeling that we've only begun to scratch the surface of the amount of insights that you could have shared with us today. However, we are limited by time, so that is all we can speak about today. I would love to continue and shoot the breeze with you and talk more about this topic.
And me too, Stuart. We could talk for years about this.
Yeah, I bet. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, once more, just as a reminder, we have been listening to Bankruptcy Attorney Christopher Kane. Thank you so much for sharing so generously with us today, Chris. You have certainly demonstrated that you are a true educator, advocate, and trustworthy advisor for your client success. And yeah, I've seen your picture online. You're quite a good-looking guy as well. So that's just an extra bonus, ladies and gentlemen. If you do call up, ask for that good-looking attorney, okay? You're so welcome, Chris. And you know something, Chris, I'd also like to just take a moment to say a big thank you to the listener, because without the listeners, well, who would we have to speak to? There'd be nobody there. So thank you for joining us on this very insightful and what I can only describe as a very informative conversation. Yes, it's been short, but it's been packed with great insights with one of the top bankruptcy attorneys in the Portland, Oregon area today. Remember, he said he does work in Portland and anywhere within Oregon. So if that's you, give him a call. Again, as a reminder, his name is Christopher Kane. Make sure you do check him out. Give him a call. He shared his phone number. Visit his website. There are great resources on there. So whatever course of action you decide to take, I am sure that after spending some time with Chris today, you're going to be in a great place to get started. So that's it for today. I am Stewart Andrew Alexander, and we'll be back shortly with some more leading bankruptcy professionals in this, our series of Let's Talk Bankruptcy Conversations. So until then, take care, have a great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.